prepare for large-scale firings. That is the order tonight from President Trump and Elon Musk. We are learning that the White House is now preparing a memo directing agencies to prepare for mass layoffs. And this memo also orders agencies to submit their, quote, reorganization plans within 2 weeks. This as the White House confirms that Musk will be attending Trump's first cabinet meeting. Just to state the obvious, of course, cabinet members, who have been, picked and selected and then vetted by Congress and approved by Congress and confirmed, that's who goes to cabinet meetings, but not in this case. Obviously, Musk was not elected, not confirmed by the Senate, and does not have a job description. He did, though, obviously, he is running Doge. He spent about $250 million on the election, and now he will be in that room with Trump's entire cabinet. His agency, Doge, is charged with dismantling and transforming the federal government, shuttering agencies, laying off tens of thousands of workers. And despite the administration's claim that they are being completely transparent here, for the last 36 days, the reality is that Americans have not had any clear idea of the full scope of what's happening, but also even who's technically been administrating it, the administrator of the agency in charge of the day-to-day. This is how the White House press secretary answered those questions at first today.
Who is the Doge administrator?
So the president tasked Elon Musk to oversee the Doge effort. There are career officials and there are political appointees who are helping run Doge on a day-to-day basis.
Can you tell us who the administrator of Doge is?
Again, I've been asked and answered this question. Elon Musk is overseeing Doge. There are No, Elon Musk is a special government employee. There are career officials at Doge. There are political appointees at Doge. I'm not going to reveal the name of that individual from this podium.
Well, 2 hours later, the White House did reveal the name of that individual. Her name is Amy Gleason. Now, she is a career government employee. That's basically all we know about her. I mean, whatever her role is as day-to-day administrator, you heard what the press secretary just said about who's in charge, because it is very clear who is really in charge here.
We will create the new Department of Government Efficiency, headed by a gentleman named Elon Musk. I signed an order creating the Department of Government Efficiency and put a man named Elon Musk in charge.
All right, so it is what it is when it comes to Musk. That's why he's going to be attending a cabinet meeting tomorrow. Confusion has been consuming Doge, though, since its inception. Just today, CNN uncovered that the group's website suddenly removed certain claims that it had saved billions of dollars by canceling a handful of federal contracts. Some of those numbers, remember, they had put a B for billion after one instead of an M for million, which completely transformed the number, obviously. And there are a lot of questions about Musk's email, asking federal employees to respond to an email by tonight, asking what they accomplished last week.
Can you clarify, hopefully once and for all, what your expectations are with this email to federal employees? What are you going to use that information for? And do you see it as voluntary, like OPM has said, or mandatory?
Well, it's somewhat voluntary, but it's also, if you don't answer, I guess you get fired.
No, that would be mandatory. Instead of getting fired or going along with Doge, though, 21 career government employees tasked with assisting Doge resigned today. They were basically, engineers, designers, data scientists, and they worked for, what has now become Doge. They abruptly quit, in part, they say, because we will not use our skills as technologists to compromise core government systems, jeopardize American sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services. Now, while they walked out the door sounding the alarm, there are plenty on the far right who are celebrating every single detail of what Musk is doing to federal workers. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene today.
Those are not real jobs producing federal revenue. Federal employees do not deserve their jobs. Federal employees do not deserve their paychecks.
I mean, of course, without federal employees getting paychecks, you wouldn't have Social Security in any form, or Medicaid, or whatever. You get the point. You heard what she said. They don't deserve a paycheck. Trump and his allies, though, if for no other reason than one basic one, should care about the federal workforce. And that is because it is comprised of a large number of veterans. 1 in 3 federal workers is a veteran. 1 in 3, a group who overwhelmingly supported Trump in the last election. In the context of all of this, I want to play again what Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said today. Even in an environment where, you want efficiencies and you want reform and all the things that many people believe in and want to come out of this, okay? What she said with such derision, about federal workers being fired. Let me play it again.
Those are not real jobs producing federal revenue. By the way, they're consuming taxpayer dollars. Those jobs are paid for by the American tax people who work real jobs, earn real income, pay federal taxes, and then pay these federal employees. Federal employees do not deserve their jobs. Federal employees do not deserve their paychecks.
Eric, is that how Republicans should be talking?
No, it's not how they should be talking. I do think they're raising valid concerns, though. I mean, Jo-Ann Fabrics laying off people in 900 stores this week in the private sector. When Barack Obama was president, he laid off 40,000 active duty combat soldiers, and no one in the media did a profile of any of them. But the media wants to highlight federal employees who are losing their jobs. They're not more dispensable than people in the private sector, but they're not less dispensable either. And I think we should treat them all the same way. But also, I would again just point out, where are the profiles of the people in the 900 Jo-Ann's fabric stores that lost their jobs today? If we're going to do it to federal employees,
Yeah.
do it to the private sector.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's a good point, Eric. I'm glad you raise it. And it does, it actually is perhaps part of the reason why we're seeing some of the softening, Jamal, in some of the numbers about people's confidence in the economy, right? Because this is all, you do have economic weakness that's Jo-Ann stores. Fair that Eric raised that. You have these layoffs as well. You know, the context here, though, is this perception that there has been this metastasizing growth of federal government employees being hired and leeching off the system, right? Bank of America actually did a report all the way back to 1945 showing that federal government workers as a percentage of workers in America, it's 1.5%. Peaked at 6.5% back in 1945. It's 1.5%. So in a sense, Eric, I'm making your point. It's not a large group of people, but they have been turned into a boogeyman.
They have been. Look, here's the thing. I worked side by side with federal employees every day for a lot of my career in different jobs. And I'll tell you, a lot of these people are working really hard. They're trying to make the government work. Right now, we just watched a video. You can do a story later about airplanes that are missing each other on the runway. Those are FAA employees. Those are air traffic controllers. They work for the federal government. I want them on the job. I want them incentivized to do a good job. So when we think about what's happening in the government, these aren't just—
I want more of them. I don't want them working 10-hour,
Exactly.
6-day weeks like we found out they're working in the Washington, you know, that horrific plane crash.
Exactly, and we want them, you know, we want them at the national parks this summer when we go take our kids to the vacation. We want them in all the places they're supposed to be. And in many of these communities, these are friends and family members. Here's the thing I think that's happening right now. They are boiling this frog too fast. It is clear to me that what is happening is all over the country, people who were not paying attention are now starting to pay attention. I had a plumber come to my house yesterday. He was walking, he's been to my house several times. He knows I do politics. We've never discussed politics. He was walking out of the house. He looked and saw Donald Trump on the television, looked at me and said, "This guy," and then walked out. Why is it that now he's paying attention and wants to engage me about politics? I think there's something about what's happening that's penetrating beyond just the Washington and New York elite circles.
Eric?
You know, yeah, I do think that they might need to slow down in cases. They might be moving too fast. But also, I actually think a lot of Americans look at the federal bureaucracy. You're right, they are a boogeyman, but it's internalized by Americans who think, you know, the private sector can be laid off. You've got Jamie Dimon, the head of Chase, also saying, we've got to look at the efficiencies in the federal government. We don't necessarily need as many people as we do, even with the layoffs. So I think the actions are good, but I mean, the move fast, break things ethos of the private sector probably doesn't translate as well in the public sector.
Aaron, I'm just going to say, there's a way to do this super quickly. There's a way to do this. You have these people report to their managers. What did you do this week? You tell your manager. Your manager tells the cabinet secretary. The cabinet secretary writes up a report. It goes to the president. Maybe they goes to Elon Musk, and they make some changes. The governments, there are ways for organizations to do this orderly and to make sure they get the efficiency without taking out.
Well, so you're not laying
who
off
don't
people who
belong.
oversee nuclear weapons by accident and then don't have their emails to get them back. I mean, Katie, the 21 staffers who work for DOJ that resigned abruptly. Now, I just want to be clear so that there's no confusion to anyone watching. These aren't like the DOJ interns. These are people who work for the government already, who are
legacy
wrapped
staff.
into DOJ to help administrate. All right,
Yep.
and they are data scientists, right? And they're saying that mishandling sensitive data, breaking critical systems contradict their stated mission of modernizing federal technology. So you have been reporting on what's happening within, you know, what was DOJ, formerly the Digital Agency.
U.S. Digital Service. Yeah.
Okay. So Is there going to be a lot more of this? I mean, do they have the heads they need to even do what they want to do?
Well, I think the reality is, there aren't that many legacy workers left within that agency. I believe that today's exodus represents about a third of, remaining workers within that group.
Third of remaining workers.
As far as we are aware as of now, yes. And, it has been a miserable several weeks for these people. I mean, they've had their higher-ups be terminated or resign, often very publicly. They've had to justify their code to 20-year-old engineers who refuse to identify themselves by name. They have had no clarity in terms of who is actually the administrator of their agency. So it is not particularly surprising to see them now raise their hands and say, we're out the door.
And then of course, even to execute what they want to do, it's who's going to do that. All right, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.